You can spy on the neighbors
All
from
right.
here.
Yeah, I can spy on everybody, but they're boring, so they're useless. I'm waiting for somebody else to move in so I can look at them.
Yeah, I can put like a... What is it?
Yeah, binoculars.
Telescope.
Yeah, it would be nice. So yeah, welcome back. Dani is
Thank you.
Dani Mora from The Schumann Show.
Yes, from the Schumann Show and from my mother and father as well.
All right.
But,
When is the next show?
the next show is going to be sometime in October. We're still deciding.
On October.
There's been theater complications, so it's not entirely clear when, but definitely beginning of October. So yeah,
Well, how much are the tickets?
tickets are, I think, like currently 30 euros.
Damn, you guys. How long is the show? It's a long show, right?
The show is like 1 hour and 20 minutes, something like that.
1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
And it's basically
so
like
sketches and songs, a little bit of stand-up at the beginning, but it's kind of like late night.
it's like SNL.
It is very much like SNL actually.
Okay,
There's like the
that's
host, Kelly Agathos is the host.
Okay.
And she like does a kind of like a little monologue piece at the beginning,
Okay.
like kind of more like what Colbert does at the beginning of her
Okay.
shows, like a little political commentary, and then we go into the sketches basically.
Okay. And how many audiences do you have? How
The
much people?
theater, I think, is like a 500-seater one,
Damn.
and it's like 3 times.
And it's promoted in the EU.
Well, at this point, it's one of those things that is more like word of mouth.
Okay.
It's known enough that like the theater
Yeah.
fills itself
Yeah.
quite nicely, and we're always. It's a balance, right? Because like it started one night, and then it was 2 nights, and then it's 3 nights, and it's always kind of like, oh, it fills up every time. But for example, last time it was with the football World Cup, Euro Cup,
yeah.
so it didn't fill up.
Yeah,
so we're
okay.
always like,
competition.
can we make another night or no?
But do you do like multiple times a month or once a month or multiple times a
this
year?
happens like once every month and a half, approx. Depends on the month. And it's a new show every time, so it takes time to write it, rehearse it, all that.
And it's in Schumann.
It's not. Well, no,
It used to be in Schumann. Because it's called The Schumann Show, right?
No, but it's just like because of
The EU things.
Yeah, it's just because of the EU theme kind of thing. The show existed before I joined, so there are some things that are like before my time.
Okay.
But I think it's just like a play of words between like the Truman Show and the Schumann Show, and because Schumann is where the EU institutions are.
Yes.
But the show doesn't happen in Schumann.
Okay.
Per se. It's in Flagey actually.
Okay.
Next to Flagey.
I still have to go to that show. I want to go because it's a cool thing. Like, it's not necessarily something I would do, but it's impressive how you guys just fill it up.
I think it's good to like also from like I understand is the kind of jokes that we make are not for everyone, just because not everyone would get them because they're like very insider and niche.
Yeah.
But it's interesting from like a comedy point of view because it's a sketch show. And I mean, the way I got into comedy was like a lot of sketches.
Yeah, you started with sketches, right?
Yeah, not like so much writing them because like writing sketches is something that like you kind of need some like a company or something to write them for, or a theater group to perform them. But I did consume a lot of sketches. Like I watched a lot of sketches, SNL, Monty Python.
Okay.
And I didn't really watch that much stand-up comedy.
Okay, so you were more fan of those things.
I was more fan.
Okay,
but I did start with stand-up comedy in Spain because it was like the easy thing to do, you know.
Oh yeah, that's like in the United States, people used to do stand-up comedy to get like a sitcom.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
But you've been doing it for
the sketch or
no, just stand-up. When did you
stand-up? I started like 7 years ago in Spain,
but Spanish.
In Spanish, but also like. When people ask me, like now I feel a bit like self-aware because like I started 7 years ago means that I did my first like 2-3 sets 7 years ago, but then for like
you didn't
4 years.
Actively.
Exactly, I didn't.
Yeah, there's a difference between saying like I started 10 years ago, but the amount of things because I've been doing it now.
And you've been doing it pretty intensely. That's the thing.
Yeah, I've been doing it very intensely.
So was it like 1 year, 2 years, or
1 year?
So exactly
1 year.
It's 1 year, but you're doing it like basically every week. Whereas I was like
multiple
for
times
years.
Week,
For years, I was like once a month. If lucky, you know.
That's different, yeah.
And then in 2020 I was living in New York,
What?
And I moved to New York, but like for work, for like an internship there.
That's a good work.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was like working for the Spanish government as an intern. So
Oh my
still
God.
not like, but I was like, oh, now it's going to be so amazing because I'm going to try. I mean, in my naivety, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I can get some open mics or whatever.
Mm.
But then COVID hit.
Oh no!
So even in the whole like thing disappeared.
so
And I did an open mic. It was like, so slowly in the summer of 2020 in New York, they started doing comedy in parks. Like the showrunners.
you started doing open air. Oh,
The showrunners were like obviously desperate, and everybody was desperate, so they started doing like comedy in parks. And I chased this guy, very nice like showrunner over there. I chased him literally to like, can I get a spot? And they had like this nice amphitheater by the East River, like outside in a park, beautiful. And the day I got a spot, it rained like mayhem, like fucking. So I did it with like an umbrella and like all the audience with umbrellas.
They were the audience just showed up.
Yeah, and there were ones who were my friends, but not even only my friends. Like there was a lot of people.
People were bored.
Yeah, they were not. Imagine, right? Like
People were
now it's
bored.
difficult to get them into like a nice cozy room, and there were like people literally in a fucking rainstorm,
desperate for something.
Yeah. So it was actually funny. Like I have the video somewhere as well. Like me with an umbrella and like a shitty speaker outside. And
But those are the gigs that make you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put a lot of work into that because it was like my New York debut, you know.
Oh,
like,
okay.
literally first and last that I did, because after it was so difficult to like fucking, when they don't know you and you have like no one to vouch for you, basically.
Yeah, you gotta get in there.
Like New York, right? It's like
New York, yeah, I heard that. We are lucky here in Brussels. We have no idea.
Yeah, I heard actually Rick saying that, and it's a good point that like just to get stage time.
Yeah.
It's like, and I mean, you can get it, but it's so draining, like the promotion of yourself and like chasing showrunners.
Yeah.
And
but that's not, that's if you like deep already in for a while. Right?
You mean that it's easier in that case, or
no? If you for like promoting yourself, I think that's not necessary.
Oh, well, but promoting, what I mean is like more like the promoting to the showrunners, like convincing them to give you a spot.
Yeah, that's
if you don't have like a name recognition, or even within the community, right?
Okay.
I'm having this problem, for example, now in Amsterdam, because I'm going there like to do some like a course there, and I'm like, I want to perform, and like it takes, like, for example, the other day I went to an open mic, and I like, thank God one of the comedians there like recognized me from Brussels.
Oh, that's good.
So it was like, so spoke with the showrunner. It's like, come, and even if it was like a small open mic.
How are the open mics in Amsterdam? So you've done the one that you did.
This one was like a small one in a bar.
Okay.
And it would be, I mean, it reminded me of like the setup of Riders, but smaller. Like the place was smaller. Okay. But I think this is one
cocktail bar, similar vibe.
Yeah. It was like, actually it was a like craft beer kind of thing, but also with like a space on the side. So I think a space that maybe can get like 20 people, 25, 30 if they're crammed. Smaller. But for example, in May I was in Berlin, and
Berlin is crazy, they say.
Yeah, but it's actually like, it's bigger, definitely bigger than Brussels, but I found that like the amount of people doing comedy regularly is not that high again.
In Berlin?
In Berlin. What you have is like an insane amount of like traveling comedians.
Oh.
But I was there for a week, and I did a few like open mics and a little showcase, like nothing but.
Okay.
And then you start seeing the same faces everywhere, kind of like, so it's.
Yeah, but it's here the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But in Berlin, I was like, maybe it's gonna be bigger or whatever.
Okay.
But but the difference is like fucking, in every show you go, there's at least one or two people who are like from outside, because it's like a city where like people pass, and there's like a lot of bigger names as well.
Cool. Yeah. Bigger. Did you meet any bigger names in New York?
Actually, no. I didn't. Again, there were no comedies, not even to watch. Like, and not,
maybe on the streets.
I fucking no. I mean, and also again, back in the day, like I wasn't like a big stand-up comedy fan myself.
Oh, you weren't watching. Oh, okay.
I wasn't. It's only now that like, thanks to being in Brussels and like being involved with people who are like taking it more seriously, that I started like watching stand-up comedians.
Getting more interest into it.
So yeah. So even if I hadn't seen them,
Because you do acting, right? Because when you're on stage, you act.
yeah,
the sketch is
the
acting.
instrument show is acting mostly.
Yeah.
Like
Comedy is partially acting, but it's just you're alone.
Yeah,
Like
I think many comedians have like different relationship with like acting, right? Because some people love it, and some people like actually hate it. Like actually actively refuse to like learn, almost from like a standpoint. Right?
I think it's important because you have like the first time I started like acting out scenarios on stage, I got bigger laughs because I did one joke. I did like a premise, punchline, and then I did an act out.
Yeah.
I know that one got me an applause break, and I was like, "Wow, this is important."
I think this is something that like I observe and I read comedians speak about this as well, and it's like we are going towards a comedy that like act outs give a lot of payout.
Yeah,
more than like the punchline sometimes, or there's even no punchline. It's just the act out. And like,
yeah, that's possible.
And the good thing is like it doesn't necessarily need to be like good acting. Very often, right?
You just have to create the scenario for them so they can picture the irony or the joke happening.
Yeah,
and I think that's that because sketches is difficult, man.
Yeah, something that I want to do actually in Brussels at some point is like put up like a sketch show. But like really low, like with sketches submitted by the comedians.
How are you going? But is it like that's not improv? That's different, right?
It's not. But so I went to Amsterdam and I saw these three people who had like a little sketch crew, and they put up a show, like a very punky show, very cool, and it was just them reading out the sketches. Like from the script, yeah,
and acting,
yeah, like
it's like live acting and reading
a little bit, but it's kind of like Saturday Night Live, where like they don't know the lines perfectly because they rehearse like 1 day or 2 days. So in this case, they were like just reading out. But I mean, it was not the first time that they read it, of course.
Okay.
But like they didn't have to memorize it. It was good.
It's like an open mic when you were like in your notes.
Yeah. And they had a mixture of like stand up first and then the sketches, and it was really good. And of course, like these guys were like doing it every month. But I think if we like, because I've written a lot of sketches that are not for the Schumann show as well, because yes, not related with that. But I think many comedians or many stand-up comedians here in Brussels could write like a basic sketch that could like, of course, like you have to tweak it a little bit, but potentially that's something I think could be fun. And
how do you train your sketches?
How you what?
How do you train your sketches?
As in like, how do you get better?
Yeah, because like building a joke, you do a joke and then you do an open mic couple there, you add things, you record it, but how do you do it with sketches?
Well,
you have to be finished. And then you just, because that's what you guys do in the Schumann show, right?
Well, but of course, like you take a time to write, and then we have like the writer's room where like we read out. So generally what happens is that everyone, and in all writer's room is kind of similar, everyone writes a sketch, or maybe two people band together to write a sketch, like a draft, and then we read it out loud in the writer's room, and we give some comments, or like, oh, this could be like this, or this could be like that, and then you end up with the final form. But every sketch is kind of based on this idea of like, what is the game of the sketch, or what is the joke?
Okay, you guys have structures and stuff. Okay.
Well, it's not instruction so much as
but like you got, there's like an inherent like a structure, like as there is in comedy. Yeah. Like when you don't have a punchline, you can like, there's no punchline. You have premises, it's good, but there's no punchline. There are like things that you know.
Yeah.
And sketches.
It's a kind of like the way I approach it at least is like and the way it's taught very often. I've done a couple of sketch courses as well.
Oh, okay.
With American and this is actually, it all started when COVID hit. I was doing an improv class in New York, in a very famous improv school, and it got cancelled. And basically they gave us a voucher, and I changed it for a sketch writing class that was online. So that's how it all started for me, like completely randomly because of COVID. I took a sketch writing class, and then eventually that developed into this. And but basically, what they teach you is like start with a game or with an idea of what it's funny about this situation. And for example, you have I'm thinking of like a famous Monty Python sketch where it's a cheese shop, but the guy has no cheese whatsoever.
Okay.
And that is like, what's funny about this sketch? That's exactly, it's a premise. It's a premise, and then you develop, and then you do like different beats, normally growing in absurdity or in silliness, kind of, depending on what the sketch is. But it's like an escalation kind of thing. Yeah. And you do it in stand-up as well.
Yeah.
But it's with like, in reality, it's like act outs, are kind of sketches.
Yeah.
What many comedians do is like a little
Act
little
out
sketch.
with multiple people.
Yeah, but it could be like just 2 people or
I used to watch like a Turkish television show because when I was younger, and there was only sketches on television. It's just a group. It's called BKM, it's Beşiktaş Kültür Merkezi, which is...
And was it like political or kind of like
No,
everyday life?
Still Turkey is too much political is a problem.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
So that's that. But it's just group of people that study, I guess, theater, I don't know.
Mhm.
And they used to just have like a coach, and they used to try out their sketches, and there are funny people came out of that, you know, I think like 30, 35 people.
Yeah.
They would make sketches and put them on TV. It's a whole show, and there was like audience interactions and stuff. But that was nice. I really enjoyed that.
I think it's a form that, because it takes more resources than stand-up comedy, is hard to, like, for example, in Spain.
Oh, it's fucking brutal, man.
There hasn't been like many famous sketch shows. There's like 2 shows that were like political shows, but I think it's something that is like not very easy to maintain on television.
Jesus, no, it's
And
fucking
I think
tough.
audience-wise, it doesn't always like super work, you know.
No, that's why like SNL is fucking tough to do.
Yeah. And
All
they
the
have
time.
the resources, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but still,
these
like is it like every Saturday?
I think it's every week, yeah.
Jesus, every week coming up with sketches in front of millions of people.
Yeah, and of
Try to be
course,
good.
Every like when I hear like interviews with SNL writers and all that, the main point they say, and it's very true if you actually watch, it's that like 80% of the sketches are so. Like,
Yeah,
they're not gonna be
perfect because it's
they're-
tough.
Exactly, they're just gonna be
Yeah,
decent enough to be there. And then sometimes there's amazing sketches. And
Yeah.
of course, they have like the guest
Yeah.
stars. So if you have like a famous person,
who's
in
your
there,
favorite SNL guest?
guest? I haven't. I mean, of course, I love the whole story with Shane Gillis. Like, this is amazing. And I don't know if he would have made a good SNL cast member,
No.
to be honest.
No, I don't think. No.
Probably not.
No.
But it's funny. It's a funny.
He's
And,
really good at stand-up. I think he needs to be
it's amazing.
free.
It's one of the best. I
Have you
mean,
watched his sketches?
the
Gillian
ones
Keys?
he did with SNL?
Gillian
or-
Keys? No, just normal. He's on his own YouTube channel.
No,
They're like Killy and Keys or something.
no, actually no.
It's pretty funny.
I've watched a lot of his Trump imitations.
Yeah,
Impressions.
that's what he's kind of known for now.
Yeah, that's how I got into that as
Yeah.
well. Well, Donald Trump was also famously SNL.
Yeah. Donny Boy.
Louis C.K. was
Louis.
also funny when he was there. I haven't really like watched SNL religiously, to be honest. I watched like
neither.
sketches. I watch, and also because American TV always
Yeah.
gets us like fragmented, and so I just watch YouTube sketches, SNL YouTube sketches,
Okay.
but like few. But I think for me the best, apart from Monty Python, which is kind of you gotta like it, not for everybody. But I think the best sketch comedy show probably ever was Key and Peele. Really, some of the best sketches.
Okay.
Like, and I discovered it quite late, so I didn't like.
I haven't watched it properly.
Like, what's like just the best,
guess I'll
the best ones on YouTube. Like, there's always
Yeah.
like a compilation, and some of them are just like fucking. You have like the guy from Modern Family, the guy who plays Phil.
Yeah.
It has a couple sketches where he plays a Nazi, looking for like Jews and black guys, and this is insanely funny.
They do hard topics then.
Yeah, they do.
That's
Like,
cool.
they have one where they have like a slave auction.
But that's on Comedy Central, right?
It used to be, I think so. Now
Okay.
it's finished, because
Okay.
one of them like became a Oscar-winning.
Oh yeah, director. Yeah, he's the guy from Get Out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other one, well, I mean, it was like also was on SNL, and so yeah, those two guys are like some of the best of the best. But
That's cool, man.
yeah, and now I mean, I really like sketch comedy, but
Right.
I think like this something I would like to do at some point here in Brussels is start recording sketches, like low budget stuff, But
Have you thought of venues and stuff and promoting and stuff?
well, I think more for like YouTube and for like
Oh, that's
social
cool.
media.
I like to
and
do
stuff.
sketch once in a
Yeah,
while.
I think
it's good for comedy.
it's not as difficult. I think like people have a fear to like write a sketch because you have to. But
It's tough.
if you write stand-up comedy, like it's just changing a little bit the format, right?
Yeah.
And it allows you to get out of your character, Some people would say that they are not a character, but you're a character when you're doing stand-up, right?
Yeah.
So it allows you to like, I mean, many people, of course, like the characters in the sketches, they are inspired in them as well sometimes, but it's a little bit different, you know?
Yeah, I think that's true. Like, people have characters inside of them that they want to be. Like, I think I have that. Like, I like Italian mobsters, mafias.
Yeah, you could probably not the first one to say it, but you could be like you look like you could be an Italian mobster.
It's like, hey, all
in
you
a
do,
movie.
you know, a bunch of all those movies. I'm a big fan of like Goodfellas and all those movies.
Yeah,
Always Sopranos a lot.
that's a good, like, definitely a good sketch. Like, very easy premise for a sketch is like to take a film genre and like make it a parody, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a very easy.
I would love to do sketch. I mean, right now my schedule is fucking.
Yeah, I know. We know it's always the time. So.
But once I have the system going, because now it's still opening up and still, I'd be down to do any sketches. Yeah, because I think acting is important on stand-up.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and it's also fun. Like,
yeah, it's fun.
And once you eliminate like the barrier of like, oh, I have to like learn the lines, and it's all very. Sketches are always like few lines.
Yeah,
you know? It's not that difficult.
And you will do it in English, right? Yeah, people doing it in English.
Sure. No, I mean, yeah, in Spanish, unless Luis and me, we can do like a comedian duo in Spanish, but otherwise, it's gotta be in English.
Well, yeah, we should. But how? So you'll do it with your crew?
No,
do you know how many people?
What I want to do, like, ideally, this is, of course, like, I also have like a fucking packed schedule until the end of the year. But what I want to do, ideally, is to like get comedians to write sketches.
Yeah, okay.
And like kind of submitted them, and then like put up like a 1 hour or something like that sketch show.
That's cool.
And then that just means like, of course, selecting the best ones. Of course, the best ones according to me and whoever, maybe Tristan, who is also like writing with me in the Schumann show, or whoever like has a little bit of experience with sketch, and then just like tweaking them a little bit with the person who wrote them, of course, not like alone. And then setting also sketch shows, normally they have like a connecting. You know, in between sketches, there has to be something, or it could be stand-up.
Yeah, I get it. Like the host or something.
Yeah, it could be stand-up because like, I can see, but then you have like, and sometimes there's like music in the middle, like not necessarily live music, but you know, like you put a recording.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah,
I hope you do it. I'll help.
I think it could do. Yeah. I think I told you that, for example, I think Le Reservoir is a place that is like it's specifically for that. It's very nice because you have like the entrance and the kind of outside of the stage, and this is I think definitely this is something that I want to do like after the year's end.
Okay.
Maybe for like the new season, not the new season, but like the second part of the season. But let's see.
Okay, but you need good locations, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I need to like the time to let's do the call for writers, read it. Like it's mostly like the previous work, and once it's done, you can just wait until you have the venue. Like it's not so dependent of like So once it's prepared, it can wait until
they have venue. I can help with the venue stuff, but we can do that off course.
I think that's the easy part because thank God there's people like you who are like good at managing venues and.
Oh my God! Yeah, I love. I sometimes I spend like 5 hours a day. Going from bar to bar.
How is it for you? Like because I see this in comedians, and I wish I would be better. And I did run a show for a little while, and it consumed. It really like it's hard. And I do see people who are like really good at it, but it's great work as well. But I do wonder, like, do you feel like it takes away time and energy from like the writing and the creative stuff? And
yes, and the thing is, you opt different. I mean, I don't go on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I take my holidays just to work for comedy. Like I've been off work for the last 3 days. Visited my family. I visited venues. I did some work for the club, and I work on some jokes. Like today, I spent like an hour maybe to write the whole how I'm gonna MC because I'm a terrible MC. I'm trying to figure it out.
I saw the other day Rick was hard.
Because that was my birthday.
Because he loves you, But
that was my birthday. I got in my head. I had an MC like for 2 months because I was MCing like almost every single Tuesday on Raiders, and I was getting better at it. And I was because. People were. I mean, the team wasn't available.
Mm-hmm.
People were out of town and stuff. So I was like, and I was like getting better at it.
Yeah.
And I was okay. And then I stopped. I was like, okay, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
and then
And then
I didn't prepare
collapsed.
anything. It was my
Yeah.
birthday that day.
Yeah.
I got in my head, and then I was like, I went on stage unprepared. I did my things, and then I was like, I did 4 lines, and then I was like, oh shit, I have to talk to people. I kind of chickened out, and I called up the first comedian of the night.
Oh, man,
It was horrible.
Yeah, it was just, the thing is, like, at some point you develop like kind of the ability of like bullshitting so much that you don't need to prepare anything. You just go up, and but it takes. When I was in Berlin, I did this show, and the MC was also like the owner of the club, and it was like the guy would do like a fucking half an hour. I kid you not. In between.
No, that's too much.
And then it was a nice guy, to be honest, but like one of these people who absorb space, and I remember being in the back with the comedians, and you know this feeling of like the next guy up is like, oh, I'm gonna go, and then the guy does another joke, and the poor comedian in the back is like, and then speaking with other showrunners after in another place, they were commenting on this guy, and apparently the funny thing is been doing the same routine. Which is supposed to be improvised, but he's been doing the same MC routine for like 5 years. And it's because it's a club that gets a lot of tourists and stuff.
Oh, that if it's a good routine, it could work.
Yeah,
like
but also he's fucking lazy, you know. And at least if it was short, you know.
Yeah, half an hour is
that's also how this is something that I really appreciate from people, MCs in Brussels and showrunners in Brussels, is that generally they give a lot of space for comedians. Like they don't, because when I started in Spain, I remember like doing the open mics, and it was literally like more than 50% was the MC.
Oh no, that's not
because
good.
People start the shows to get stage time themselves, right?
Well, it's like you're on stage, everybody's happy, and you know if you would do a joke, they would crack up, and you have to keep yourself from doing that.
Yeah, because
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a like an ego thing that you get rid of.
Yeah,
it's tough.
But in the end, it's your show, and the problem with an MC, if you do too much, then you burn the comedians that go after you, and people are just tired and fucking.
That's not the point of an MC. The point of an MC is to make sure that the crowd is ready for the next comedian. That's basically it.
I think exactly the point is that they want you to get the fuck out of there as soon as possible. Like, if you can get that feeling on them, that's perfect, right? Like, get this guy out of my way and bring the next comedian. Yeah. But just still happy with you and listening to you, right? Yeah,
it's just like a set of the mood, you know, if people are talking, address it. People are leaning away from it, address it. It's tough to be an MC, and I don't like it too much. Yeah. But I think it has changed me a lot.
In the sense of...
I'm more comfortable on stage.
Okay. And would you say you're nicer with the audience? Because I remember
it depends.
telling you about this the other day.
It depends on the day. I have a problem with that. I'm getting better at it, but I'm not as bad as I used to be. Mm-hmm. I should actually be more friendly. Because my jokes are like tough.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
So, and then being a nice host and a MC, you know, happy, it's just tough.
Yeah. I can imagine. It's a code switching difficult. But to me, like, the starting point for me is that I love people who would come to a comedy open mic to watch. And the more comedy I do, the more difficult sometimes I find it to like understand how people like, and so grateful for people who go to an open mic and stay there long.
Oh my god!
Because sometimes, sometimes it's terrible. You know?
Yeah. The audience. I feel sometimes so bad for the audience.
I'm like, dude, like I fucking thank you guys so much
for taking the time to listen to my bullshit ass jokes.
Yeah, because I also in Madrid I remember doing shows where it was like, and in New York is the same, right? Like with 10 people in the audience at best, and 6 of them are comedians who are not listening.
Oh my god!
And this is quite normal, right?
This is normal, yeah.
So I'm like in Brussels, specifically in Brussels, I'm always amazed at like the amount of people. They stay normally as well, like
because there is no scene.
Yeah, well,
it's not as big as New York or Berlin. Yeah. There are not a lot of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like a limited amount of shows.
Yeah.
And but we're in the beginning.
Yeah. That's good. And even for example, something that you probably can tell me, but like when I was in Berlin, for example, or in Barcelona, I've done a lot of comedy there as well in English, and you notice that there's a lot of tourists.
Yes.
And here, I don't. First of all, there's not that many tourists.
There is a lot of tourists.
Are there?
Summer.
Yeah, but do they come
go.
to the shows, would you say?
Yeah, because I did not stop during the summer.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, I think like summer shows, 50% of our audience was
Nice, because that's something
tourists.
that also in Amsterdam the other day I saw that like half of the audience were tourists.
Yeah, tourists. There's not as much as like the other cities probably.
Yeah, of course, not as touristic, right?
But
Well,
yeah, there is tourism.
Nice, because that's like a nice, and also some of those people like are well educated in comedy in the sense that they work, especially if they're Americans
University
or
people.
British. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tough. Man. Making university people laugh is tougher than. Well, it's different humor.
The university people, like college students, or
Yeah, people that have a degree and stuff. You know, they.
well, Brussels is very much that.
Yeah,
no?
it's tougher to make them like. I do shows in Leuven and Ghent. I perform. You performed as well.
Yeah.
And the audiences is different, you know. Here, especially our show in Schumann, it was very like political correct. Is maybe not the best word, but it's there are some sensitive topics. So we train ourselves to make them laugh, which is very difficult. But it's a good exercise. I love it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned this because for me, I always say that it's actually the opposite. That I think in part because of the Schumann show, but I find making people in Brussels laugh easier.
Yeah.
Like those kind of like young professionals, EU bubble. Also because it's like the people I hang out with generally. And then when I go back to Spain especially, and I go to an audience that is like more diverse in like backgrounds and interests, I find it more difficult because like, many of my jokes or many of my topics more are more for like that kind of audience maybe.
Okay.
But so it's good. Like for example, my biggest fear is like do a stand-up in Spanish for like a random bar in Madrid. Like I started like that, you know. But now for me, it's all like, like what the fuck are those people talking about? You know, like it's so far from my life in a way.
Oh shit! Yeah. Well,
I had to do a. So my friend is a high school teacher back in Spain, and he asked me to do a gig in his high school. And I was like, I wanted to do it just to push myself to do it. And I was like with 80 high school students from like a village in Spain. And I was going through my whole, like what I've written
high school
for years.
Like 16 to 18 years.
16 years old, 15.
Oh my God.
And like from all my material,
oh shit.
I was like maybe 10%. And it was all like the sex jokes and shit. and of course, I mean, I left alive, but it's not that I killed or anything, you know, like I survived, but
we had that happen too. That's tough, right? It's like when there's a sudden one group of audiences just come in, and then it's just only that group. It's either hit or miss.
Yeah,
you know.
And when they are like, sometimes you get like a fucking lost bachelorette party or bachelor party or something. Like they're very confused or something. First of all, why would you go to a fucking stand-up comedy? Well, I guess if you're on a bachelor party, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, the people expect different things from stand-up comedy.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah,
I don't know. There's some people that watch comedy online. I've seen like big names.
Yeah.
And then wanted to go, or just people scrolling through Facebook and seeing, stand-up comedy. What is that like? Let me go.
Yeah.
Here in Brussels, that's kind of true. Because we, like you say, it is very true that we have a very diverse audience.
Yeah. But they are diverse in one sense, like nationality and
stuff.
Yeah. But then they're also quite homogeneous in like they all work in similar things.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's...
to make them laugh at... like, because you know my jokes. Because make them laugh at like a terrorist joke I do is very tough.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good training. So I know it's a tough topic. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna present this? And then if I make them laugh, then I'm like, okay, this is a good one. And then I do it in Leuven or in Ghent or somewhere else, and then it gets a much bigger laugh because it's a well-structured joke. Because to make them laugh, it's tough. I would say. I mean, I haven't done stand-up in other cities, but I hear from other people like it's different from in other cities, especially in the French scene, I think.
Is it the French scene?
Yeah. James and Rick tell me about this. Like they say, like it's very there's a homogeneous crowd, and it's very like if you hit or miss.
Yeah.
But if they say like if I go to Charleroi, they say, and I do my dog jokes there, they love it there because you're doing dog jokes to people that are like construction workers and shit, and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But here you're doing like jokes towards like the more like.
Yeah, although
University
at the
studied.
same time, for example, like I mean, there's also kind of the stand-up that I like. But for example, when I watch Spanish comedy, one thing that I noticed, there's amazing comedians as well. But one thing that I noticed is that the range of topics is much more limited.
Yeah.
Like because stand-up comedy is smaller, so like the audiences and the jokes that are made, especially by like big names and stuff, are very kind of like mainstream. I don't want to say hacky, but you know what I mean, like sex jokes and like you know, like classic or a lot of stereotype stuff.
Okay.
Which is like in the English scene, because it's so big, you have that, but then you also have like the niche people who like joke about specific.
Yeah.
And of course that's what I like personally. So I appreciate that, and it's a problem when I go back and I'm like, oof, they're not gonna laugh at my jokes about fucking Nietzsche. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But not because they're stupid, but because they never actually really stop to think about it in comedy terms.
Tonight's audience is a bit like that. Tonight's audience is
I'm very curious, actually.
People that are like 30, 40 plus.
Okay.
That live in a chill life.
Yeah, definitely Wolof. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know. It's a tough. I make old people jokes and taxes.
Yeah.
Like tax paying. Like when I'm seeing they love that. But I remember like other comedians, Sushant and Abhinav. Sushant was talking about like young kids things and they didn't get it. So I was like, Sushant, don't do that. Like, don't be like, he's talking about nerfing things. And I'm like, what are you doing? People don't know what nerfing is. Don't do that. And I think Abhinav did something else. But that was not known in for them. Because you can't talk about like young people slang to people that are 50 years old.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to relate. And then James and Austin did the same, did perform as well, and they did good because they talk about their kids. It's just fucking killing, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm in that age where I'm like, I don't get young people slang anymore, but also don't relate to like kids jokes anymore.
Kids joke, yeah.
The only kids jokes I relate to is like, you know, all my not all, but like I'm starting to have people I know and friends who start having kids.
Okay.
So is that I'm exactly in that age where like I hear a lot of jokes, even not by stand-up comedians, but by like people in my life about like, oh, so and so is having a kid, and you know, having a kid, and like whatever, and so I think I'm trapped in that age in particular of.
Yeah, but I do think you have to like, if you
can imagine also.
Yeah, but if you do a good joke, it should be good for everybody, you know. You have to take aware like.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you have to think the way... Yeah, sometimes...
That's not the writer's problem. You all know that. Like, you have the information in your head, but you don't know what the information is in their head.
Yeah.
Because it's already in your head. So that's why it's always, like, weird that when I do an act out, that I get laughs. I'm like, it's obvious. I just repeat it, right? That's why sometimes I have that. Like, I just tell a joke. It's obvious for them, but it's obvious for me. But it isn't really obvious for the audience.
Yeah.
Because I do this act out... maybe I'm burned the material anywhere and nobody cares about this podcast. The podcast is called
wait,
Who Gives a Fuck?
This stays on Spotify until one of all of us kills it, and then you know.
Yeah, well,
but you can say.
The joke is about like I ramble on about like terrorist attacks and planes and whatever, and then I'd say like there is never going to be terrorist attack at a train because there's delays.
There's always delays.
Yeah, and then imagine, and I say like sketch a scenario where you imagine two terrorists going to the train station, being excited, and then the train just never shows up. And I do an act out like this, or like, and then I do like, oh, where is the train? And then that gets a laugh, you know. But there's all of the build up towards that.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You've put them in their minds the idea of like a terrorist waiting for the train.
Yeah, but for me that's obvious, right? And I did the act out at the end for the first time, and I got lost. And I was like, this is like very obvious for me. But that's a writer's problem. It's obvious for me because I come up with a joke. So the whole snare is already there. But it's not for them clearly.
Yeah.
You're just dropping an idea right there. They're not gonna form it in their mind.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this joke for like hours and days.
Yeah.
So that's like a thing. Sometimes I think you have to just exaggerate with the joke, especially at the open mics, and then see okay, cut it up when it is not funny anymore, and then you just that's the limit.
And also you trim out what is the minimum expression that can work.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and I think, for example, like personally, like with like sensitive subjects like this, like terrorists, for example.
Yeah.
I think I love those jokes, but sometimes like I see that like there's a tendency of like saying the terrible thing or the very politically incorrect thing, which is fine, but it's to me it's not equivalent to it being funny.
No.
You know, like
No.
And sometimes like the things that I always like love about terrorist jokes, for example, terrorists or like pedophiles or whatever, it's kind of like the little stupid things that are adjacent to like exactly, like the terrorist who lost his luggage in the airport and he's like, oh fuck me, you know, or cannot not allowed to carry liquids or something, and it's not really like the terrorist.
It's not about the terrorist.
I
was just like, when terrorist goes, you gotta go to the airport. First of all, somebody has to drop you at the airport. You gotta call a friend.
I have this joke that also like maybe I don't know if like they will appreciate it today, but I love it, and it's in this line, which is that like, you know, Belgium is the country of pedophiles, and this is something, by the way, that other people in other countries know for some reason. And so it's like, but it's of course terrible being a pedophile and everything, but it's
good that you acknowledge that.
Yes,
it's good that we say that out loud.
This podcast does not support child pedophile. But I was saying that like in Belgium, being a pedophile in Belgium has much more merit than being a pedophile in Spain, because it's not the same looking at children in a park when it's all the time raining.
Oh my
looking at children in a park when it's like nice outside. Like you really have to like kids in Belgium, you know, or have a really nice umbrella. And it's like, is that like you're not supporting that? You're just saying that like their daily lives.
This is like making feel bad for laughing.
Yeah, but that is the key. That is the key, right?
That is like oh shit.
But not, and you're not laughing at the children who are raped, you know. That's the thing. Like, this obviously it's a terrible thing. And if you have to, like, and also kind of like, if you have to say that is terrible, it's already kind of. We should. It's be able to assume that is the case, you know.
Yeah, those topics are very tough.
Yeah,
if people start with those topics, I started with those topics and I was like, I'm not ready for this.
And that's also, I think. It's true that there's a tendency to talk about that, and it's like it's fine to talk about that, but you should also be able to like make fun of like simpler stuff. Yeah. And then something that when you hear like famous comedians do podcasts is like they sometimes do like open mics even, which is like clean jokes. Clean, and I think that's like a very amazing
you should
have, right?
You should have all. I mean, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but I would recommend to do like. Just don't be that comedian that only has dark jokes. Yeah,
it's also kind of boring. And
you bore out people.
And this is also like this is a skill, right? Like any so just the ability to like have a topic and write jokes about it. Yeah, even if it's not the one.
But do you act when you do stand up? But you do sketches. That's differently. But your stand up jokes, do they relate to your sketches?
No, necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's the same.
So when you write stand-up, do you like actively sit and write stuff, or is it like an idea comes up and I don't know?
No, I do sit and write. Like actually, like for example, the thing for me with stand-up is that I've never been disciplined in like performing. I've always been a bit lazy with like getting spots and going every week. Okay. But I always been a very prolific writer in the sense that like basically for most part of my career. Every night I was doing stand-up, it was a new set. Like I wrote a new set for that, like 5 minutes, 7 minutes. I can write it very easily. Of course, that doesn't mean it's going to be a perfect set. But
you love writing.
Yeah, I love writing, and I take a topic. Like I'm like, okay, this one is going to be about cockroaches. This one is going to be about like parenthood or whatever, or children having.
That's very tough.
So then I write a bunch of jokes about that, and of course, like there's a lot of trash in there. but then the part that I'm worse at because I'm not so disciplined is what Rick was talking about the other day, which is like going through it a million times. What is the perfect form of this joke? That's a point where I never get, because I get bored of my own jokes, and this is a terrible thing, of course.
That's a difficult thing, bored of your own jokes.
Yeah, that is a problem that I have in general. So my advantage is I can write a lot of jokes very quickly.
Maybe, that's it. I don't know how to deal with that problem, because I think it's good that you should write a lot of jokes so you have a lot of stuff so you don't repeat all the jokes all the time.
Yes, but my problem with that is like now that I'm trying to like travel around and do like it is better to have a golden 10 minutes, right? Like amazing 10 minutes. And like I have good jokes, but I don't know if someone asked me right now, do your best 10, I really struggle to like go like, oof, what is my best 10?
Yes.
Because all my jokes are kind of related with like that particular set. So sometimes I was watching, you know, like American comedians, they have like the 5 minutes that they get on late night TV.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an amazing thing that I like to have those.
Yeah.
But the things like many of my jokes are related to each other, and
Yes.
alone they don't work as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I get that.
So, I mean, in these styles, but I do sit and like write. And I think another way to look at this is that, you know, that like sometimes they say about the open mode and the closed mode when you're writing or when you're doing creative stuff. And the open mode is kind of like the brainstorming and like just
exploring
shit.
and exploiting.
Exactly. And then the closed mode is when you like take
Exploit.
that and so I really enjoy like the fucking every comedian is like, oh yeah, shit talking basically.
What did you study again? I forgot.
That's a very long, but I.
What do you have? You have a degree, right?
Yes, I started studying biochemistry in university.
Okay.
Then after 2 years I dropped and I graduated in international relations and history. After.
Okay.
And I did a master's in.
It's a very big switch.
Yes, and then I did a master's in trade, and that's how I ended up in New York selling Spanish wine, promoting Spanish wine.
That's a very crazy, like.
Yeah. And then I came here to be a lobbyist for financial companies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, lobbying.
For a bank,
legal mafia.
Yeah. I was a bank lobbyist, and now I'm.
You were like the legal mafia.
Yeah. Well, more. Not
it's legal mafia.
I didn't know legal much, but it's funny. Like lobbying, it's. I think people have an image of it of like, ooh, very shady and stuff, and it's actually so boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's like fucking office job, and there's a lot of like
administrative work and regulations, especially in Europe.
Yeah, all the jobs are 80% the same, right? Meetings, emails.
Oh yeah, I fucking hate them.
Conferences.
Oh my god, I hate all those things.
But you know, now one of the fun parts of my job is that I get to do like sometimes, if I'm lucky, events where, for example, next week I'm doing stand-up in Spanish for an event. A networking
You've been
event.
going all into comedy and acting
Now,
and
yes.
everything.
Now
Jesus
it took
Christ.
some time. I mean, basically, I decided to do it for a while to see if it works out.
I have hope for the best.
Yeah, and otherwise, there's always office jobs to go back to.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing. Yeah, you can always go to your shitty office job.
There's no shortage. Well, there is a shortage in Spain, you know, but at least here, it's like, oh, I know I can go back to like a
you
job,
have a great degree,
like,
great experience. You can get
exactly.
Yeah,
and then
same thing.
But for the moment, I'm just shit talking. Like next week, I'm shit talking at an event for like a networking drinks, basically.
Oh, you're gonna be like that guy.
I'm gonna be like
the
stand-up
MC,
comedy there. Yeah.
the host.
Basically, just
like the paid gigs.
Yeah,
like the
and those are great because it's like they paid more.
They pay good, right?
They pay more than what Showcase would pay, definitely.
Yeah, because this is a fucking corporate. They're like, how much do you need a fucking flat? And like, oh wow, shit.
That's what so many famous comedians live out of. It's like, I mean, of course they do it big time, like a big conference.
I wish people would hire me to do that.
That's also where they say, like, I was listening to Jim Gaffigan in some podcast.
Yeah.
And this is the classic comedian that is hired a lot for these events because it's clean. Like,
okay.
It's all family.
Okay, don't hire me then.
Exactly.
I'm fucked.
This is why, like, the clean, for example, the lady who hired me for this job, which is it's a friend, and she was like, try not to be very political, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, perfect, no problem. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to, like, shit talk politicians.
Yeah, sure. If they pay you for certain reasons.
Also, like, if they pay me, I'll do whatever.
Yeah, sure. But it's an agreement. You can't just like, I want to do whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
it's not an open mic. This is like, they're paying you for a specific task. Respect the task and be the reason why they pay you.
Yeah.
And then you will. I mean, it's comedy in general, right? You're just trying to be entertained. You're an entertainer.
Yeah.
You're making people comfortable. You're doing a job. You're getting better at it, and they're paying you.
Yeah.
So you just do a good job.
Exactly. I mean, I guess if you are like fucking, you know, like if you are internationally reputed, maybe you can say fuck you. But like otherwise, it's a job, right? It's a job. You have to do your job. And
I'm not Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be.
Oh man, Jerry Seinfeld is exactly the kind of comedian that they would hire in one of these events because
he's that guy.
He's the whitest comedy there is, probably.
Yeah.
Like the You know, I watched.
Do you like the Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I love
Seinfeld
Curb Your
shows and
Enthusiasm.
adult
Yeah,
shows?
yeah. I mean, I actually haven't watched it like regularly, but I've watched some of the episodes, and I've watched all Seinfeld, of course. But yeah, I love exactly that kind of thing that I love. I just haven't like have the time to watch all of it. But yeah, I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love Parks and Recreations.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. And The
Really
Office
good.
probably as well.
The Office, I haven't watched it.
Oh,
but
that's pretty good.
I know, like, it's one of those things that I probably know. I know that if I did watch it, I would love it. I just haven't got up, like, you know.
Have you ever watched Louis?
No, I did watch some episodes, but another one that I would be like,
That's
I would
different,
probably
yeah.
watch it.
But that's not sketches. Wait, I
No,
guess it's his
yeah.
sketches. It is his sketches.
It is kind of.
It's.
sketchy,
I mean,
you
it's
know?
for me, it's the funniest series I've ever seen. But I mean, it's pure stand-up comedy.
Is it a lot of stand-up comedy? Because I
Yeah, well,
thought it
it's
was
his
like
life.
this.
It's his life, being a stand-up comedian and
Yeah.
being a parent. And he has these sketches. He gets on awkward dates and shit
Yeah,
and awkward situations. And it's funny.
yeah.
It's funny. It's like there's no laugh track, which is great. And he's just like, I don't know. It's like he's going to one time he's going to like to look for a new house, and then if he goes to like new houses and he enters a house like looking for new, like the real estate place.
Yeah.
Real estate agents show them a house, and then they go into a living room, and in the living room there's a toilet, and because it's New York, you know, it's just.
I think this is like an amazing. For example, Curb Your Enthusiasm is also the same. It's like,
I've never watched it.
fucking. I forgot his name now.
Larry
David. His life, but it's not exactly his life. It's his life a bit dramatized, and so basically, I think the way they record it is like they have a script, but it's like a loosely written script. Like this is what's gonna happen, and then they improvise the exact lines.
Oh,
in the
that's
recording.
cool. I think that's the same case with Louis.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same. Yeah, and I think that's the fucking. Of course, you have to be like a famous comedian for someone to pay you to fucking invent your life. You know. But that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an amazing gig,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Is the and fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm is just so.
Yeah, I should
funny.
watch that.
I've only like what I do with these things sometimes is like I Google like list of best episodes of,
and
then
you
I
watch
watch
them.
the best ones, and I'm like, oh, I like it enough to like watch the whole thing or not.
Oh, okay.
But I've
But
watched.
but that's the pilot for. Like the pilot is.
Yeah, but the pilot is rarely the best one.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's the one.
It's the
to,
most
like,
extreme one, and will get your attention. Have
Yeah.
you ever watched The Sopranos?
No,
The first one on The Sopranos, the pilot is so extreme. It's like a movie, and then it gets like
Yeah, because
more-
then you have to like
Yeah.
squeeze it out.
yeah.
I think also it must have changed a lot now because back in the day, maybe X number of shows were pitched, and
Yes.
now it's like 1 million.
Now you don't need a pilot anymore.
So you have to like break, but also you need to like make it even more strong and spectacular, the pilot, because you have to compete with like a bunch of like fucking.
yeah.
So yeah, it's,
I don't. Do you think like new series are good?
I haven't watched that many to be
Yeah.
honest.
You're too busy, right?
Yeah, it's like with series, I'm skeptic. I'm like, I think potentially I would like them, but I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, fucking, how many episodes is it gonna
Yeah.
be? And so I try to watch movies instead.
Movies are nicer and better to watch. They're also like better
Yeah,
quality.
Yeah, and
because it's easier to make like a 90-minute or like a 2-hour movie banger than just fucking 10 hours banger is difficult.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, every once in a while I fall for it. Like recently, last week when I was still in Spain, I watched the first episodes of the new Lord of the Rings series.
Okay.
And it was like I enjoyed the first season, but there was like you watch 3 hours of series, 3 episodes, and literally like nothing happens. And then you think about it, and it's like, wow, 3 hours is
It's
what
a
the
movie.
movie of the Return of the King was, and it was like so many things happened in the same amount of time. But they're just taking the whole thing and like fucking extending it to fill up time. And this is what I feel with series is like, oh, you're fucking filling up with bullshit, especially
Okay.
like drama, like 50 minutes to an hour kind of shows, right? Like a lot of it is like fucking trash, man. Like it's just
Yeah. I don't watch series anymore.
sitcoms are different because like every episode is like one
Different.
story.
Yeah.
Like so I do enjoy that, and there's so many good sitcoms like The Office. I started watching Arrested Development as well, which is a famous one, also very funny, but also like I'm like fucking physically have no time to. But every once in a while I would watch an episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's and also I'm trying to watch more stand-up specials now
Oh yeah, that's good.
because but it's
Who's like what are the people that you look up to in stand up?
I really like now Neil Brennan
Okay.
a lot, which I think says. I watched. Well, I like Jimmy Carr actually, even if it's not at all.
It's not your style.
Not at all my style, but I love. Well, first of all, he's on stage, right? And like, like joke crafting.
Yeah, he has something very unique.
Yeah. And I admire, like sometimes even if it's not my style, but I admire the joke crafting.
Yeah, he is well. Yeah.
For example, exactly, it's like economy of words.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Also, another one that I admire, even if it's not my style, is Jim Gaffigan.
Okay.
Jim Gaffigan is like one guy, like
he's a different style.
Yeah, he has a different style, and like to be honest, like 90% of his jokes, I'm like, but he has the capacity to like take any topic at all and turn it into a joke.
Yeah, it's his voice.
Yeah, exactly, and he does a lot of act outs, and when it's like, oh, this is a fucking professional of comedy. Like he can take anything and turn it into a joke that like 60% of people will laugh.
Yeah.
And
he does like a lot of specials, right? Just keeps coming. Like bang,
bang,
bang, bang.
Yeah. Actually, next week I'm in Amsterdam. I'm going to be watching Trevor Noah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And actually, like this, I think he's a great comedian, of course, amazing. But the other day I watched his latest Netflix special, and it was like fucking trash, man. Like,
shit.
I was like, dude, like you have to be. I mean, and I've watched other specials of him, which were really good. But this to me, like, what means is that like, some very famous comedians, they tour a lot, they have a lot of engagement.
Yeah, they can fail.
And they just don't have like fucking time to write.
Yeah, but they can fail. They can fail. Failing is okay.
And people will still buy. I bought the ticket for the show, you know.
The people don't understand that. If you're a stand-up comedian and you do like 5 specials and the 6th special sucks, well, whatever.
Yeah, and nobody cares anymore. And it's the same with like, to be honest, I mean, I think I'm not alone in this opinion, but like Chappelle or Ricky Gervais, like the latest specials are like, man, like what is this? Like, and they are the kings, you know. There's nothing to say, but this is jokes that if you saw them on an open mic, you would be like, huh? But because they are told by like fucking giants of stand-up,
you gotta watch out for that. Yeah. That you become too famous for your own good. Not that I am famous at all. I mean, nobody knows me. Sometimes do you get recognized on the street?
I got recognized like this. I think I can count like 3-4 times.
Oh shit!
You know the funniest one because I in the summer show I play Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister sometimes. Okay. So,
but do you dress up? Like your face,
suit, on
makeup
suit,
and stuff?
A little bit, but like not that much. But on this summer, on the line to enter Tomorrowland, we were there with like some random friends and one guy like passing by. It was like, "Hey man, great Pedro Sanchez." I'm like, what the fuck? So in the line of Tomorrowland.
That's funny.
In the European quarter, I got it like 2-3 times, not more.
That's very funny. Because European quarter,
yeah, like in bars, or normally it's in the days around the show, you know, because people is fresh on their minds. But yeah, or in a house party or something like that sometimes. Cool. But this is a very small world, right?
Yeah, I have a joke about it. Like, it's like you get recognized by the people, but it's never the people you want to recognize you.
Yes.
It's never like a cute lady. It's like, hey,
well, it's never the people you want, and
never the people you want.
Never in the circle. Yeah, I think.
And it's always awkward.
I do think about like what made me, when has happened, like normally people are nice and everything.
Yeah, they're always nice.
But like but it's funny because the conversation really doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
the conversation where like someone,
and then they're standing there.
Where is it gonna go? So I was like, oh man, like of course, like that has nothing to do. But imagine being really famous.
Oh my god!
And it's like, well, it makes no, like that's why famous people really like isolate themselves and like, because imagine fucking all your life like that stupid superficial interaction of like, hey, you know, like whatever. And it's like,
I think, but stand-up is better because you're not famous.
Yeah, right. Like not even the famous comedians are like.
Yeah, they're not bothered.
Yeah, they're like maybe 5 to 10 people who are like recognized by like.
I don't think Louis gets recognized all the time. I think Chappelle gets more because he has more TV time and stuff.
Probably like maybe
or Eddie Murphy like all the time probably.
Yeah, like Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Shane Gillis, for example, we're talking.
Yeah,
I don't
Shane
think
Gillis.
like most people, which is nice. I think that's
that's the perfect level.
It's the perfect level
of
of famous, right? Like where you can where you still can say you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
You know, but most people actually don't know who you are.
Yeah, that's good. Somebody took a picture with me.
Really?
Yeah, that was
because of the Italian mafia kind of thing, you know. Is it El Chapo Dominguez?
Fucking. There was like I'm like, I was at somewhere and there was an event and I was just looking by. I was like, hey, I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna send to my husband.
Really?
and I just did this and I took a picture.
I think one thing that I remember someone when there was the Palooza comedy thing in someone saying that talking about, I think it was Neve or something, but someone talking about like a comedy scene party, and that was we should do like a comedy scene party, like I don't know, like just or like an after show or something, because the Palooza, for example, serves as the unofficial, right?
Yeah,
but,
I guess it was. Yeah, that was a tough show because I had 2 gigs. I was hosting our show, so
on the same day.
Yeah, it was just a Tuesday. So Georgia opened up the show. I did my bit there, and then I would run back to the club, and I'm seeing. Yeah,
oh my
that
God.
was a tough. And then I collected everything.
Oh my God, it's a fun. I mean, now that I've been traveling a little bit and doing comedy in other places, it's always such a fun collection of characters. Not always healthy characters.
Yes. There's always like weird people, right?
But
you have like extremes.
Yeah. Generally nice, but also so many characters, man. So many. Especially I remember in Berlin, like so many good people. But it's like, oh my God, like, and when you realize that you belong to that community, it's like cool on one side, but also it's like, oof, I don't know.
Yeah, some people are weird. Yeah, but that makes them great comics.
No, and I love being part of that because it's like, it's, for better or worse, it's your people, or I feel it as my people as well. And then you even if you don't share anything at all, you can share that, you know, and it's great. Yeah. And to be like in a green room sometimes, like
the thing is like the things you talk with some comics, you can never talk with other people. Yeah, like the things you say, like the things you. Yeah, it's a different kind of relate because you make it because somebody starts making a joke and everybody's filling up on the joke and everybody. So sometimes the jokes that my best bits come out of like ranting with comedians. Yeah, and I think that's something that like we don't, or at least me personally, I don't do enough. Like writing buddies and like writing with other people basically. I don't do that either. I don't do it because it's not my impulse, but I think it's something that all big comedians say that is something that really important for them. So it's something that is on my you gotta hang out with you gotta have a hang. But hang as well, but with a kind of a structure, like because it comes, for example, after Raiders, it always comes naturally after. But then you have to capture it somehow and like I did that. I did some rants with some people and then I wrote it down. Yeah, and for a while there was it Shui that was doing like writers? CK Shui. And CK, I wasn't on the Raiders then. CK was doing it. Yeah, I was there every Tuesday. It was in the summer last year. I think it's a great idea, but also like that's the thing. Like it takes effort, time, commitment. Commitment is the big word here. Like it's difficult for me. It's difficult to like when you have a million stuff. It's hard to, and you have a lot of brilliant ideas, but from the idea to like the realization of that, it's fucking difficult. Yeah, so I'm all in. Yeah. You are all. I can see that you are all in too. Yeah, but you are all in with some things, but then there are other things that you would potentially like to do. But there, well, you can see the guitar there, so that's the thing there. Nice. So but that's just that. Do you play the keyboard as well? Yeah. Nice. I also play the guitar. I always wanted to like. I play like very basic chord stuff. Yeah, me too. But like, I've been listening to like a guy who does comedic storytelling with songs. Oh shit, that's tough. And that's so amazing. I even like, and also in comedy, like sometimes when you do like open mics and someone, or for example, CK brings the instrument or someone brings the guitar, and it instantly adds so much to the performance. And also like the people fucking love it. Yeah. In the sense that like they will forget
they will forgive any bad joke that you do if
Yeah,
you're
it's
singing it.
a
Basically.
different style. It adds to the show as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh wow, there's a music thing going on.
For example, for me in the Schumann show, we do songs like which are normally parody of musical songs or normal pop songs or whatever, and I always try like doing them, and I still haven't managed. And like I admire so much Barry, who normally is the one writing it, and it's like, oh, it's so funny. Like when you are able to like come up with like funny versions of songs, like Weird Al Yankovic does or something like that, and it's wow, it's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, songs are difficult.
Yeah.
Because you got a rhyme and you got to make... There's
Yeah,
a different
the rhymes.
structure. There's a different structure of jokes. Because
Yeah.
you got a rhyme, it has a fit in the joke, and it has to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and the song just have to be silly a little bit. I mean, jokes can also just be silly, but I think with for example, the songs can be very simple, but I don't know, like it's something, but it's something that I would love to like get into, but it's also like, oof.
You have to choose your battles.
Yes, exactly.
You have to
Like in
choose
life.
your battles.
Like in life itself, you cannot, you cannot do everything. It's, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like...
There's a lot of stuff. But we have a show tonight, and it's almost 7.
Oh,
so
perfect.
we gotta go. But when is the show of the Schumann? Do you have a date?
No.
There's no date yet?
It's gonna be
But
first or second week of October.
First or second week of October, if anybody watches this. Dani Mora at Instagram.
Yes.
I'll tag the Instagram or whatever.
Perfect.
I'll post it.
This is very fun.
This is the Who Gives a Fuck podcast. The podcast is basically just me trying to be a comedian. And I know I'm going to fail, but I do it every week.
You cannot be a comedian these days without a podcast. So
but it's fun. It's fun to do because, it's just fun.
No, it's...
And,
And I was very curious, like, because at some point in my life, as a middle-aged man, I didn't know I'm going to have to do a podcast at some point. So I was just like, let's see how a pro does it. All right. Copy the whole thing.
Yes, I'll help you with everything. It's fine. All right. See you guys later.
See you.
Peace out. We got a show to do. Bye.